Good evening and welcome to the season finale of the Pressbox. I am Ernest Gilbert, founder of the VI Consortium and your host for the evening. Since January, the Pressbox has brought you updates on the initiatives and progress of the Brian Roach administration. And on behalf of the Pressbox team, thank you for tuning in and sharing your ideas and thoughts. Tonight, the Pressbox ends the way it began the season, with a candid conversation with Governor Albert Bryan Jr., fresh from a successful bid for a second term as governor. We'll discuss the election, his plans for the next 4 years, and we'll address what's making news today. Let's begin. Governor.
Good evening.
Good evening. And well,
good to see you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
How do you feel? Do you feel rested, or you're continuing to go and work? What's the
I mean, I'm still going. It's like, you know, it's perpetual motion. You just don't stop. But I need some rest. I've been really burning it for the last 4 years. People say, you know, you get tired maybe from the week. I tired from 4 years, maybe 6. I've been campaigning. I haven't really taken a break that much, but I'm going to take a little time off and like catch myself. But I'm fired up and ready to go for this next 4. You know?
And so let me ask this first question. What type of legacy would you like to leave once you leave office? So, and let me put it this way. When the name Governor Bryan comes up, Governor Albert Bryan, what would you like Virgin Islanders to say?
I would like him to say that I've changed the course of the Virgin Islands and rebuilt and transformed the islands into a modern, bustling economy with a great quality of life.
Okay, and so Governor, to achieve that type of narrative once you're out of office, I think a lot of things need to happen. Right. So you look at some of what your challengers were saying. Some of those are really legitimate issues. Right.
I mean, but they're legitimate issues because the other issues have been solved, and I think that's one of the things I take from the campaign is like, when I leave office, there will be a whole new set of issues, but the ones that we're talking about this election, those will be resolved.
And so obviously, I'm sure you have a timeline as to how you would like to see certain things happen and accomplished before you're out of office. So I'm going to name a few things, and as media, we're going to try to hold you accountable if you're able to give some timelines.
That's always good. That's always good.
So let's go. The schools that are being rebuilt.
Okay.
What are the timelines for completion?
I think that we would have, by the end of my term, we probably have like 2 schools built. I mean, the reality is that the first school is already in progress, and they should be breaking ground actually on the construction by, say, about March of 23. But it's going to take 2.5 years to build that school. I expect that before I finish, at least 3 will have been started, but I can't see any more than about 2 being built. And that's a capacity issue. That's not even a timing issue that, you know, how fast we can do it, but there's only so much people and so many contractors.
So 2 schools complete and about 3 started before you leave office.
All right, that's right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, I'll remember that. Yeah. Let's look at the territories hospitals, not JFL North, which we'll talk about, but the hospitals, you know, they've been approved for rebuild. JFL is a long way, coming along well. What are your timelines?
Well, I want to cut the ribbon on JFL, and I think that has to be done last quarter of my term. I mean, realistically, right now, we still have to demolish that building and build a complete new building. Here at RLS in St. Thomas, that should become substantially completed as well, too, because that's more of a gut. Charlotte Kimmelman will be done, Myra Keating will be done, and the 2 skilled nursing centers will be done. I mean, just think about all this construction is going on at the same time. That's the daunting part about it.
And so in terms of follow-up on the manpower, right, a capacity issue, has your administration thought about how you're going to make it work? Are you speaking to contractors off island? What's going on there?
Well, the contractors are coming. I mean, they're lining up and showing up. The thing that I worry about is that do they understand about the capacity issues? Because if you're coming from a stateside situation, you know, people could drive in from the next county, the next state, the next couple of neighboring states. But here it's different. It's like a flying issue. We have a serious capacity problem in terms of housing. St. Croix, I'm not really worried about it because we have the whole Hess complex. And what I expect to happen is what happened in the 1970s. We're going to have a vast migration of Eastern and Western Caribbean people coming to the Virgin Islands, whether legally or illegally, and that's going to help us rebuild what we have. I mean, that's just the truth. We're not going to see a mass. One thing that's going on now that's giving me a lot of promise is that the American recession has already started and people are starting to lay off employees, which means that wages are going to go down in the States, and people are going to come home. When things get bad, you come home. So, and we're going to be able to rely on those people to work as well.
There's some new reports today. I'm sure you know that inflation is easing, the markets are up. Exactly. Those are some good trends there. So we might not see that type of recession that some folks are predicting.
Well, I don't expect a massive recession, but what I do expect, like the housing boom will slow. Because at 7.5% now for a mortgage, you're going to see less housing starts in the States, which means construction slows, which means there's more people for us to work. You know, that massive infrastructure bill that the president was trying to get passed, it never got passed. And now with the Republicans taking over the Congress and the House, I don't think it'll get passed either. So it's bad for us in one way because we don't get the money, but it's good for us in another way because a lot of materials, prices will start to come down and we will have more available workers at a lower rate to work.
Let's speak of the Paul E. Joseph Stadium.
Yeah.
What is the timeline?
I think by next year we'll be done. You know, that damn project is like cursed. I mean, we can't like finish that project. It's moving along now, but I think the contractor needs to put a little bit more emphasis on workers there. That's one of the things that I'm gonna be looking to do too in terms of rating contractors. I mean, it's a new day. I can speak my mind as freely as I want to. When you look at projects like what Jay Benton has running in Mali, in Walter I. M. Hodge rebuilding that, they're like 100 people. And that's a huge project, but you go to Polly Joseph Center, Polly Joseph, they got like 15 people, 20 people. We need people. And if you're a contractor and you're not following through and you're not able to produce, then we're going to have to just stop you from getting any more bids, because what's the point of us giving you contracts and you can't get them completed?
And so the timeline that the public works had given, and even you, March next year, that's not going to be met?
You know, I always stand back because they always saying about March of next year. I don't see that happening. I see the pyres going up, but crap happens, number one. And I just don't see the manpower being extended to this effort. I went out to Kramer's Park and I asked them, 5 for billions, when is that job going done? They said April. I said, you mean Christmas? They said, no, April. Like it's going to take from now until April to create 5 cabanas? Come on, man. Yeah. We got to do better. And it's like, our people too, is like when you show up to the job, you come to work. It's like, you know, people blame the governor for everything, and I talked about accountability. But when you go on these jobs, like you're eating breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning, like we got to get stuff done. Right. Like, it ain't gonna get done, you know, the sun hot, but this is the nature of the job. So we're gonna give the work to the people that can do the work and get it done well and in a short space of time.
And so that is what I was going to follow up with what you answered. So the action you would take to help solve that is by making sure you have the right contractors.
Well, because we've been doing our bids like, you know, a lot. I'm gonna really change procurement a lot. I'm gonna gut out procurement. It takes too damn long, you know, for us to get stuff done. And it's because of these ridiculous measures. 18 people got signed something before it actually gets processed. If you could order something in the night and have it on your doorstep in the States from Amazon.com, it cannot take us 3-4 weeks to get material. When you're taking, you know, the amount of money that's being wasted with people who don't have work to do. Like if a teacher want, just for sake of simplicity, a box of chalk, or like how long does it take that teacher to get that? That's lack of productivity during that space of time when a person who need a jackhammer or anything to do their work, if they can't get that stuff, then property and procurement have failed. And I think, you know, we make all kind of excuses, but we have failed in order to be able to provide people with materials in a timely manner. It's just the truth.
So following up on what you spoke about when we had our interview on election night, so we're going to see some changes at property and procurement.
You're going to see changes all across the board, and you know, your article today talked about commissioners. You know, ain't all the commissioners, it's the directors and it's people who doing the rank and file jobs too. It's like, you know, I have to work twice as hard because my coworker ain't doing what it's supposed to do, or I don't get the materials I need. That's the kind of accountability I'm really talking about, because there's too many people in the line that just get jumped over and gets a pass because it's okay if the end is a governor's fault. You know, we got to be accountable all the way down the line and all the way up. And then, you know, we're going to get it done. I only have 4 years. I'm not going to be gentle about it. It's time for results, you know.
JFL North?
And that's given we don't have something else like a recession, a pandemic, or something else, you know.
JFL North, they're saying it should be opening sometime this month.
Amen. December again, I really don't think it's going to get open in November.
You think it's going to happen December?
Yeah, I think it'll happen in December. I mean, one of the things with JFL North too is like, I try my best to let the people who have the expertise do what they need to do, right? So I respect the sanctity of boards. They were constructed that way because they didn't want a governor just telling everybody what to do. And I try to respect that as much as possible.
Sometimes you got to do that though, Governor.
But sometimes you have to do that. But when you do that, you know what you do? You give everybody a pass, accountability again, because now you're saying you're responsible for it. So if it don't work right, the governor is responsible for me. And that's what a lot of us want to do, right? We want to be able to pass on the responsibility for that. Set it up to government house, let them make a decision. No, you need to make a decision. So getting that project done, it will get done. Right now, the JFL North is 10 times safer than the structure where they're in, right? Because if you have running water and facilities with bathrooms inside the complex, you have operating rooms that are state of the art, then that's way better than what we're dealing with on the other side. And at some point, we just bite the bullet and move.
I'm saying, when are you going to, so are you angry about what is happening or what has happened at JFL North?
Angry is an aggressive word. I try to remain unemotional about things. I just get frustrated with stuff because it's a lot. I have a job to do and I end up doing everybody's job. I do WAPA job, I do in waste management job, I do in a hospital job. Those places are supposed to be run by individuals who make a crap load of money and they report to a board. I don't want to resort to a situation where I am willy-nilly just controlling everything that goes on in the Virgin Islands because, number one, that's not inclusive. You don't have other people's position. And the people who are expert, I'm not an expert at building any hospital or running a hospital, so I have to listen to the people that we have. But, we got some people mixed in there that need to go. They've been in trouble for a long time, and I'm going to take care of them. You bet your bottom dollar about that. But I need the hospital to run itself. I don't have to go by Dow to run the Port Authority. I hired him. He's doing his job. And it gets done. Waste management, we're doing a pretty good job. Doug and Tina just came out of the hospitals and looking to see what's happening there. But we have problems other places we got to straighten out.
And so, Governor, I realize what we're going to say.
And the other thing, people get on these boards and they think you there on the board to represent the governor. You get on the board and you think you got all your mind of your own. You want to do what you want to do. You want to be disruptive. You want to question everything the person before you do. Your job is to provide broad policy and guidance, not to nitpick every single thing they do. So one of the things I'm going to be doing is expanding by executive order all of the powers of all our CEOs, right? So that they're spending, signing limits, everything. I'm pushing for that. A project for $250,000 is nothing now. I can't wait to get board approval on a $250,000 project when I have $10 billion of projects to do. So giving more autonomy to the CEOs is going to be a push for me, and then holding them accountable to it.
All right. Now we're going to go.
I sound angry, huh?
No.
I just fired up.
No, yeah.
Is that different?
I'm sensing, a more serious tone, for this term coming up because you're trying to get some things done. We'll be right back after this break.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are in a region with high levels of vulnerability and threats for tsunamis. Here's some tips you should know. Listen for the sirens. It is important to understand the difference between an advisory, a watch, a warning, and an information statement.
If you're in a coastal zone area and notice a dramatic recession in water from the shoreline, move inland immediately and do not return until officials say it's safe to do so.
A tsunami can happen at any given moment, often without notice. Know your map and the nearest evacuation route and stay in the know.
Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay vigilant. Visit Vitema's website at vitema.vi.gov for more preparedness tips.
The more we know, the more we grow.
All right, welcome back to the Press Box. I'm Ernest Gilbert, founder of the VI Consortium. We're here with Governor Albert Bryan. Governor, let's reverse to the election a little bit. Solid victory.
That's a whopping 17-point spread. I mean, that They should have saved the money, okay? 17 points, 55 to 38. Let's call it like it is. Everybody trying to be, it's like you got Plana, I can't even say that.
So they should have saved the money.
Save the money. I mean, if I always like strategy, right? Early on in this election, me and Tregenza had a long talk, and he said, what is this? Asked me, what do you think this election is about? He said, this election is about 2026. And I thoroughly believe it too, because there's no way they could have beat us. So, and I know people saying, oh, you sound cocky. It's math. It's simple math. MAP was way more popular than Kurt BLA, and they couldn't beat us. So there's no way he could beat us. And we've done more, and we know we got to gain support in St. Croix. We almost thought we would have won it, but we didn't win it, but that's okay. And we know in St. Thomas we would have held steady. But what's at stake is allowing all those angry map people to find another leader. And I think what Kurt did was solidly place himself as a leader of those angry map people, right? I think what he dragged Janelle on the ticket, who proved absolutely worthless. They got beat 4-1, 5-1 in St. Thomas. She didn't bring home the vote. He did what he was supposed to do. He brings St. Croix, but he didn't have anybody to bring St. Thomas, and of course he couldn't bring it himself.
And so what I always say about it, so we've had conversation about this before, me and some of my friends, and what I always say to them, this is a democracy, and you still need challenge. You know what I mean?
Always.
So that's why I appreciate that the team, at least a solid team, a venerable team, a team that was able to challenge you, came about. Because if no one came, then what would it be?
Well, I wouldn't call him venerable. I mean, I wouldn't call him a real challenge either. I would call him. We would never call him the competition. We always call him the opposition. And here's why. I mean, when you look at the campaign, it's rank amateur, and they didn't grow with it. They went in very arrogant about being able to win. They started the campaign in May. They thought like, oh, this is in the bag, because they were already prominent senators. We campaigned for 2 years before my first term. So, and when you look at the product that they produce, I think not only do we have a superior product, but they are still in a district campaign when we have a territorial campaign as governor for the governorship. And I kept waiting for that other shoe to drop, and it just never happened.
Well, Gov, congrats again on that. Let's go back to some issues here. So, what has happened at the Office of Management and Budget has just been a complete disaster.
Absolutely.
And this comes one day after you won election.
Right.
Some folks are wondering, is this what we're going to be seeing?
Yeah.
And I looked at some of the press releases today. 22,000 seniors and disabled Virgin Islanders are eligible for that Social Security stipend.
Right.
What was going on at the Office of Management and Budget to think that you will not see an influx of Virgin Islanders, folks on wheelchairs, folks fainting, and you just had a disaster on your hand?
Well, I think two things happened, right? I think it was poor decision making in terms of the breadth of people that would show up, and the underestimation of everybody showing up at one time. 10,000 checks is a lot. I could tell you last week when I originally thought that they had mailed them out. And then I saw a press release come out talking about pickups. And then I thought we were only picking up the ones that had the bad addresses. And so I knew it would be like, there was no easy way to distribute that. But, in our administration, no good deeds goes unpunished. We didn't have to give people $500, and we did. And I always blame myself for everything, right? Because this was supposed to be done 3 months ago. And it costs, and they couldn't get the addresses, so they forced it through, and they got the checks, but then when they printed them, they realized they didn't have a good addresses, and all the checks would just come back, and that would even be a harder thing to do. So I think they got it straight now. So I thoroughly apologize to the public for the inconvenience. It was just a dumb move, to try to do it like that, because everybody's going to show up. But I also have to say the checks aren't going anywhere. I mean, the checks aren't like we're handing out apples that are going to run out. They have your name on them.
So this is where some folks would say, I wonder if my governor is out of touch with what is going on with some of the folks in our community.
Right.
So you have...
Why would you think I would create a plan to give out checks?
No, but
I'm governor of the Virgin Islands. You think I was down at OMB saying, oh, you know what we should do? You should give out 10,000 checks.
Just based on what you're saying. So I mean, I'm not saying it's you cause the issue. Obviously, sometimes you got to be more hands-on, but here's what I'm saying.
Think about that, what you said, though. The governor of the Virgin Islands is planning a check distribution. And I think all the time we go and the accountability issue right here, right? I mean, definitely my commissioners failed in getting that check out. Their intention was just to get money to people, and they underestimated what that would look like.
I suppose what I was trying to say when I say, some folks might say, well, this is out of touch. It's not that, is the idea of saying that it's not going anywhere. A lot of people are struggling. And for some people, that $500 means everything. Right. And so that's why you had this influx of individuals.
If we were giving out, I hear what you're saying, right? But when have we given out anything and it has not been like a frenzy? I mean, every time we give out something, it's a frenzy. And whether people, need it or not, if it's free, they show up for it. So we expect that, yes. But I mean, these things have your name on it. I understand people want to get money and stuff.
Some people don't have any.
But that's why we gave it out in the first place, right? Because if we knew that they had, then we wouldn't give them. All kind of people are writing me for stimulus, and all I'm thinking is my seniors is they needed the most. When I got really wind of what it was going on, I was like, this is going to just be a disaster. But then what do you do though? Do you say get on the internet to Social Security recipients?
I mean, the release you sent has, the alphabetical order distribution.
That's a much better distribution system.
And so why, those things I'm saying. So did you have conversations with the OMB director?
After this cluster, yeah, of course I did. Yeah. I mean, without a doubt. That was definitely, and let's just say I cuss enough bad word for the week, okay? So, I mean, and just after we win, we have that. And, the one thing that really made me angry with my staff about this is that we always get in trouble giving away money. We've given away more money without the need to than any administration ever. And every time we do it, it ends up just being a cluster, a foobar. That's the only word I could understand for it. I mean, it's just terrible. Anyway.
Let's talk about GRS, Gov. And
yeah.
I tried to ask you that question during the debate. What you've been able to achieve, with GRS is, of course, exceptional in terms of, basically staving off collapse. But we spoke about this. They gave, NIBS this raise, and they're talking about we have all these monies now from the securitization, and part of that could be used for the raise. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Are you going to send down competent board members to really make sure that the monies of the people of the Virgin Islands are secured and are used for what it is supposed to be used for?
Yeah, I think what people are saying with the raise is a kind of a stretch. We gave them $169 million. You're talking about raising his salary, I don't know what he makes now, $150 or something.
It was supposed to be $250.
But let's get real. The CEO for WAPA to make 3 and change, the university hospital to make 4 and change, the university, the CEOs for the hospital make $200,000-$300,000 a year. I don't see a problem with somebody. I want to just make that clear. The way that it was done was wrong, but I don't see a problem with somebody who manages a fund of $5 billion to make $250,000 a year. I mean, that's just reality. I mean, right now we're struggling for talent all over the place, and we can't get it. And people saying, "Oh, well, they're wasting the money, giving him the money." But how long ago that was? Almost 10 years ago, we were paying the CFO of the Port Authority $10,000 a month. That CFO, not the CEO. So I get kind of protective when it comes to cash. And in this community, anybody making any money is a problem, except when the union's getting theirs. And we don't talk about it then. So if you're going to have people who are competent, you're going to have to pay. You don't run these GRS funds and these funds like that. These people making it $75 a day. I'm supposed to tell somebody whose time is worth $600 an hour to come to work for $75 a day. That's not how it works. We need to grow up in the Virgin Islands and understand that you get what you pay for.
So you're fine with the current board?
So, say again?
You're fine with the current GRS?
No. We're going to make some. Okay, so my idea about there's 2 problems here. we won that case with Whopper which says that the governor could put anybody on the board they want, right? Nobody else could appoint anybody to a board except the governor, and the legislature has the sole right to confirm them. The more restrictions you put on getting board members, the harder it is to get. And we're going to make some changes, but when you have to say you have to be from St. Thomas, and you have to be in the financial sector, and you have to be whatever, that makes it harder to get people on these boards. So one of the things that we're going to be looking to, number one, is who's going to be on the rules committee next year in the legislature, because we want to make sure that person could process some people. And number two, getting some of these boards filled out. The hospital boards too, we need to add some more people there. GRS, we need to definitely change, because the terms have expired. And then the third thing, finding somebody that's willing to go in front of the legislature. I mean, it is a huge factor in getting board. Even PFA, I got some replacements to make. It's hard to find people that want to go.
All right, we'll be right back after these messages. And welcome back to the Press Box. I'm your host tonight of the finale, Ernest Gilbert, founder of the VI Consortium, here with Governor Albert Bryan, fresh out of a second-term victory there, Gov.
You look fresh.
Yes.
I am tired. You know, fresh about it.
Tired and relaxed, though. You know that is over.
Yeah. Very.
So, Gov, I want to talk about the Department of Justice, and you know, when you talk about the Mogg situation, yes, but when you got into office and you chose Attorney General Dennis George to lead the department, you spoke of part of what you wanted to see happen was white-collar crime be tackled, and folks in high positions, stealing money, doing whatever, that they'd be brought to justice. What we've seen, though, is that, at least on multiple occasions, because we print it, is the Department of Justice would send press releases of struggling mothers in the hospital trying to game the system on how much money they make so that they could get healthcare, Medicaid, or whatever. And then they're plastered all over the internet. And then, like poor mothers. But then 4 years later, where is all the action on the white-collar folks? The folks making, in all these positions and probably stealing money, no action there.
It's funny how you say that, because when I saw who they arrested for Medicaid fraud and stuff, I was like, really? I was like, but, fraud is fraud. I don't know why people think that level of corruption is going on in the Virgin Islands, and if they do, call it in, and I would like to sit down and call me personally and tell me where the corruption is. I think we perceive corruption. Let me tell you something. The last IG really cleaned up corruption at a high level. You know how many people went to jail out of the Turnbull administration? You go through John DeYoung administration. How many people went to jail?
Talking about Steve.
Huh? Van Beaverhout.
Yes.
When he came in, when he was resigning, we had this conversation. In Turnbull, there was a lot of people went to jail. In John DeYoung, how many people went to jail? 0. In MAP administration, 0. I think people are a lot smarter now about, and we have a very, very transparent progress. Where the corruption? It's a panelist of people, with 2 people from property procurement that pick contracts. Right? Then, in order to get paid, you have all kind of reviews. Most of the corruption in the government is at the low levels. The little graph here and there for getting a license done or getting a permit or something else like that. That's where it is. At the high levels, I don't think people realize how electronic and clocked everything is. I mean, you could see every single transaction. How? And the public, you could see the transaction made. You know who's getting the contracts. So I think there's a lot less corruption. I'm not saying there's no corruption. I'm just saying there's a lot less corruption than what people think it is and where it is. And then the other thing that has happened in government is cash has disappeared. Cash is a real thing where you could have a lot of corruption. All these jobs, the federal jobs and stuff, they're bonded. There's so much work now too. My question would be like, why thief or why pay anybody? We don't have enough contractors to do the work we need to do. The only people complaining really, they sub to the majors. So they got a major contractor who got a bonding, and they sub out. There's no new company coming here with 2,000 workers to build anything, you know. So if you want to build something and you win a school, who do you think getting this new contract, MSC or whatever the name of the company is for the school? We went to Buccaneer for their contract. They invited all the contractors in to sit with them because they can't bring the workers. So, I don't see the corruption thing. But, I'll check with Denise, Attorney General George, to see. And then the other thing, white collar crime takes a little while.
Takes a little while to come to.
You know what I mean? Still, because we still getting audits from the MAP administration.
You're getting audits from the MAP
Right.
administration.
I mean, now my administration is going to start to get audited, and you're going to see things that are erroneous, if any, come about. And I expect there is, but,
So you're satisfied with the Department of Justice? What about the morgue situation? Any changes there? You've had conversation with
Well, we're just trying to get the temporary morgue up in St. Croix. I know we did some clearing at a spot, and the placement of that morgue has to go down. I mean, But Ernest, I mean, and I could really speak my mind, and I used to speak it before. But these are rudimentary issues at a department level. When you talk about the governor of the Virgin Islands, I got 35,000 people on Medicaid. Nobody talks about that. That's the stuff we should be talking about. The rum cover over is $10.50. We got to go back to Congress now to make sure that we get that $13.50 to get that money in. We still need health insurance. We're trying to get major bonding backing from Treasury. And we got a serious WAPA problem. It's like these little departmental issues should be handled at the departmental level.
But the thing is, they're not being handled, so that's why sometimes it is brought up.
Yeah, but you think the governor of New York is worrying about the morgue not being built? I mean, that should stop right at the commissioner. But they come to me to get at me to answer the question. Is the AG? I haven't seen any interviews with you and the AG asking her why.
We've sent questions. So let me ask, this is something, Governor, that it was at the top of your agenda, mental health. Right. You've had press conferences and you announced this major plan. Right. 4 years later, you announced it recently, but nonetheless, 4 years after...
What did I announce recently?
Remember, you announced an overhauling of mental
The behavioral health plan has been in the Senate for 3 years. It's still in pass.
Okay.
I mean, it's like we got to work with, so this is what I did. In my first 2 years, I really worked to get legislation and get stuff done. It was pointless. I was being blocked by Janelle and Kurt at every step of the way. Then COVID hit. So what I did is I said, forget the legislature. We're going to work on the things that we can do with the federal money that we have. And that's what we did. So the only thing that we really pushed and we got done in the legislature major is fire EMS merger and the GRS deal. And that happened in my last 2 years. We can't make major changes without the cooperation of the legislature. And we've just been fought for 4 years. So, I mean, I really told my staff, I said, listen, we have money, let's do what we can with what we have. So when you don't have that, then it's harder to move pieces like local money. The only local money that we really distributed, I went to the legislature and said, hey, here's 20 million, do with what you will. We pave roads with that. But if you look at that, there's been no other real major local money done. Even Polly Joseph, they still need another $5 million to be done. We haven't gone back to the legislature for it either. We've been going to the legislature for like little money and stuff.
So when are we going to see a mental health facility in the territory?
We have, that's the misnomer, is that we don't have a mental health facility. We do have the age shelter facility. We opened the annex during this term, and we're working on the main building now, getting that done and pushed through FEMA. We're not going to have, I could say, I'm not going to build 3 facilities or 2 facilities for stuff like that. We can't afford it. So we have a penitentiary in St. Croix that we have to rebuild. We don't have any money for that, so we got to looking for creative ways to do that. And there'll be a mental health facility here in St. Thomas. The jail, when we build it, will have a piece, a mental health add-on as a facility. But the Virgin Islands government spend over $10 million a year servicing people with behavioral health
Folks
issues.
who are away, though.
Yeah.
Why can't we build something here and have those
And staff it with who? During COVID, where you were saying, I mean, I'm not saying we can't do it at all. We could do temporary housing, we could do behavioral health centers. But the reality of it is, we infected our old senior citizen care centers because we didn't have enough nurses to work at the hospital and there. We're building 2 new skilled nursing facilities. And the hospital, GFL North, has twice the rooms that GFL have. Where are these people coming from? You know,
I'm asking.
So that's why we pay. It's the same thing with our jail. You know, we just pay to keep them away, and in some cases it's cheaper than keeping them here.
So, Governor, you spoke about and you mentioned something important. You know, you said some of these things are rudimentary, and then the bigger issues we have to deal with, WAPA and the rum cover over. But some of those small issues really matter. You know, to Virgin Islanders. And so one of those issues, for example, on St. Croix, the street lights. On the highway is dark, you know, and some folks would say.
But the highway is already taken care of. That contract has already let the strip. 367 lights are being worked on by the contractor. They're the ones who are doing the Williams light piece, so that's taken care of. Other street lights, but there's the thing, Ernest, right? Yeah. You get what you pay for. And the reality is that I remember Cliff Graham, $5 on the WAPA bill to take care of the street lights, and people bitch and moan. They didn't want it. He repealed the bill for $5. So we got 50,000 meters. We got $250,000 a month for lights. $5 on every bill. That's good. You wouldn't pay $5 a month to keep the lights on for your children to drive home and enlighten your mother and everybody?
I would.
I mean, that's what the reality is. So when people complaining, it's like, let's put our money where our mouth is. I keep waiting the sin tax bill, right? We passed the sin tax bill. I pay the 8%. There's no need for the sin tax bill anymore. Why don't we say, let's take that money and put it for the street lighting, or something else that we complain about as a community.
And again, Governor, when people complain and when people talk about that extra $5, people would say, you know what, we already short on money.
The same people that going out to have cell phone for $200 a month, got tattoos on themselves, going to the getting nails done for $80. I mean, come on, man. I mean, yes, we have people in our communities suffering, but the reality is we don't want to pay for anything. And it's crazy. I mean, if you want a better community, you're going to have to be willing to contribute more taxes. And people, the government doing this. The government has a lot of federal money to do rebuilding. Right now, we're subsidizing the light bill. We're making sure that the roads, we're trying to use the money to try to get the roads paved. We're trying to do reconstruction. But you got things and gaps in our community that we're going to have to pay for. We don't have no city tax. We don't have no county tax. And we expect our community to look like, Buckhead, Atlanta. How is if we don't pay the money and we don't get it? I'm not a tax and spend governor. So what I'm trying to do is give people the resources to get more education, get more training, so they make more money, so we make more taxes. But it's going to take a while. So if we want, right now, when you look at St. Thomas or St. Croix, how the highway look, I mean, we should have our medians planted off, all of it, coming from the airport, all nice and planted. We got them ugly poles and stuff in St. Croix. That costs money. We have to be making the sacrifices in order to say, this year we're going to do this. This year we're going to do this.
So you're going to push some of those initiatives?
Absolutely. Beautification is one of my big things. We have a grant for about $10 million from Department of Commerce. And there's a couple of things that we're going to be doing with that. But we started the beautification project here in St. Thomas. And it's still undone down to the airport. And every time I pass it, it irritates me. St. Croix, I want to make sure that that airport thoroughway come down the highway and a median going west, that we fix it. It's never been done before, but we got to figure out a way so the place look nice, man. I mean, they don't annoy you. I mean, I driving around the Virgin Islands, that hurt my heart. It's the dirt in the gutters and stuff, where the grass growing. It's we need all them things dig out and clean out. It's it's almost like we don't know how it's supposed to look like, so. There's a lot of work to be done, but it can't all be done in a day.
So let's talk about WAPA quickly.
About who?
WAPA. Yes. So you're still subsidizing WAPA?
Absolutely.
Why are you still subsidizing WAPA? The energy costs have gone down. So why is WAPA still being subsidized?
Which energy costs? WAPA has $82 million of fuel prices that they haven't passed on to the consumer. You think it's now that WAPA is carrying the burden of the community? I mean, it's for them to get fuel rate hikes and whatever. I know you're going to say, but Puerto Rico has had 8 rate hikes. 8. We've had 0. We like to act like WAPA belongs to somebody else. It belongs to us.
But WAPA, the executives over there botched WAPA with the propane conversion mess that promised lower rates of 30%. And so every time that WAPA messes up and its executives...
I totally disagree with that.
The consumers are paying for it.
I totally disagree with that. You're going to tell me...
You don't feel like there have been great mistakes at WAPA that has led to where we are today with the rates?
I think, but yes, but they've been mistakes that are caused by circumstance, not will, not by force. So let me give you an example. The consortium were writing in 2012?
Yeah, no, 2014.
Yeah, when Hess closed down, there was nowhere to get fuel from. And WAPA was dead broke. Vital built that plant. They had a 3-year plan to turn that thing around and be able to refinance it through. That would have given them a 30-year mortgage or a 20-year mortgage on that plant at a lower % interest, right? What happened? MAP became governor. And they totally stopped, reconfigure all kind of things. Over $25 million in changes, trying to get them GE generators to burn propane. Like a lot of money was wasted, to your point. But here it is, people stepping in and changing the course of what was going on before. So the government never paid their bill. $28 million outstanding all the time. So how do you expect the agency to be in a situation where they're sound enough financially that they could refinance? Then COVID, then hurricane, then COVID. So
Governor, the very IG you spoke of, who is lauded and praised for his work,
right,
released an audit on the WAPA situation and that Vital contract that completely says that the inefficiencies of management and the board led to where we are today. That's part of that audit.
What audit in the Virgin Islands wouldn't say that, though? And I mean, I'm not defending the management of the agency of WAPA. I definitely think money was misspent and people botched stuff up. But it's not one thing that ruined WAPA. It's like talking about the GRS and people saying, oh, they invest in a grocery store in St. Thomas and that was broke, or they invested in Carambola and that was broke. It's way more complicated than that. So everybody, I want you to know, Ernest told me tonight, stop subsidizing our light bill. I'll just stop and the light bill could go up. I mean, like, what do you want me to do?
The subsidy, we will be back. I think we'll be back after this message. Thank you.
What you mean you don't want dance? Well, look who it is. And one time, we got the girl and ballin'. Oh Lord. She says she never loved her rhythm so bad. Oh Lord. She can't control it every time she hears it salty. You see that girl? She ready. Yes, she ready now. One clap, just like that. She ready now. She ready, yes, she ready now. Give me 2 clap, boy. She bubble on top. She ready now. Bad girl don't take chat. You got the whole place locked. Every time I see you walk out, every girl I chat to your back. You got the cheat code. Bend over, east board, island to island. We know when you touch road. She never loved her rhythm so bad. Oh Lord. She can't control it every time she hears it salty. You see that girl? She ready. Yes, she ready now. One clap, just like that. She ready now. She ready. Yes, she ready now.
You going, Timmy?
Yeah, check out tomorrow. I better not see a grain of sand in my car, eh?
Terrence, hurry up, let's go.
There's a bunch of haters, man, because I just reached and I need to talk to you.
Ain't like you see you later, right?
Hold on, now you seatbelts, let's go. Hold up to me. Terrence, what were you doing? Buckle up.
Man, in the back seat. I'm getting right around the corner to the house. Nah, boss. People will be speeding on this stretch all the time. If you really want to live to see Crystal later, you got to buckle up.
Ridiculous. Let's go, Timmy. I gotta go home and get fresh anyways.
Me know what Crystal seeing you anyway, dog.
Seatbelts save lives. Buckle up. It's your life. It's our law. This message is brought to you by the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety.
All right, and welcome back to the last segment of the season finale of the Press Box. I am your host, Ernest Gilbert, tonight, the founder of VI Consortium, special guest on this Press Box, and here with Governor Albert Brand, Governor-elect.
Am I?
Yes, sir. Got to go through the whole inauguration process again, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of work to be done, Governor, a lot of work to be done. And so can you tell us what to expect? What are we going to see in this coming years?
Well, I tell you right now, Ernest, my serious priority is getting JFL North open and fixing WAPA. And like, so much has happened there over the years. Like, I can't be accountable for that in terms of who to blame or whatever. I have to think about how do we get WAPA to a place where they could see the light at the end of the tunnel and our people's consistent and reliable power that's affordable. WAPA belongs to us. I wish it didn't, but it does. And we have to deal with that. So that's my priority there. You know, we have the VI Slice program that's going to continue to go on.
Right, that's a big program there.
Yeah, and we also, you know, there's other healthcare, home ownership. There's a lot of DC issues still on the table that people really don't care about, right? Unless they don't come true. That we got to work with the delegate on. You know,
you concerned at all about that $10?
Not really. Yeah. Puerto Rico has a large lobby and they're affected by it too. So usually when Puerto Rico are affected, is like, that's the one thing, that Puerto Ricans everywhere. And so they lobby their state senators and congressmen to get it done. So it's gonna get done. But we don't take anything for granted, so we go hard all the time. And then Medicaid, you know, we have to fix that too. In
terms of WAPA, Governor, and the conversion on St. Croix to solar,
right.
We've been seeing some great progress there.
Yes.
And so, do you have any updates on that? And when will that transformation happen? At least a timeline?
Well, I know it's going to happen within next year. But you know, it's always hard to say with timelines. The reason why WAPA is leaning toward this one provider is because they have the material, and there's really a shortage of material, and you know, people could get a contract, but then to get the material up. So we're hoping to see it move fast and move quickly. The biggest thing with WAPA, though, I mean, even VLA said, and he's right, is the refinancing of the debt. I mean, that's what has a light bill high too. I mean, gas and fuel is one thing, but the refinancing of the debt is a huge issue for us. And in order to get the debt financed, you have to stabilize WAPA so the bank will lend us more money over a longer period of time, you know. So that is a real priority as well.
I think Senator Vialli has spoken about even not paying Vital, you know, yeah. and taking that situation to court. Would you even consider that move?
Well, I mean, you know, right now we pay Vital a lot of money, and to your point in your audit, you know, some people feel like Vital cheated us out of some of that money. So I mean, Andy Smith is taking a hard line with them and saying, listen, we already pay you enough money, we ain't paying you no more. That you know, but I like to pay people I owe, so we're negotiating with them, hopefully something that's reasonable and acceptable to both of us that we could pay.
So there's a negotiation going on all now relative to the expense of the government to Vital?
Absolutely, of WAPA.
Of WAPA,
The
yes.
government don't owe Vital anymore.
I know, WAPA.
But everybody's coming to me, right? Everybody's coming to Government House and looking for money and wanting me to guarantee WAPA payments. I believe in paying my vendors, without a doubt. But I really would, just like you were saying, figure out like what do we really owe them. I mean, the interest rates that we have are very high. I mean, right now prime is the mortgage rates are around like 7%, and I think we were paying like 12 or 13. So and that's when the rates were at 3%.
3%.
So you know, Andy is a financial guy, and I trust him. And I'm giving him the latitude as a new CEO to do what he needs to do in order to get WAPA under control. He's controlling his expenses. We have some great conversations with the banks today. So, you know, and once again, here's a person who's an expert, and I'm the governor. I am not an expert on energy or financing. I'm here to look on to see, is he going in the right direction? And my team helps me manage that. And so far, I think we're headed down the right road. It's just a dark road. You know, it's dark.
Governor, for Virgin Islanders looking at this interview tonight, you know, some still hurt about the outcome of the elections. Some may be angry at you. You know, how do you heal the community and bring everybody together? Is it even possible to bring the entire community together?
Well, the amount of orange shirts that I saw on Tuesday night that I never see before, I would say they kind of healed now, aren't they? I mean, everybody's gonna congratulate me, like they supported me, and you know, we know who supported us and who didn't support us. We know who you are, and I say, you know, I have to say that, you know, over the last 4 years, we take a lot of slap. You know, we let people stay on, and we supported them, and you know, and it worked because, you know, we didn't win anything in St. Croix. We had like 35%, and I think we had 40-something% now in St. Croix in terms of winning. So that's good. St. Thomas, we come out essentially the same. We lost a little votes, like I would expect, but you know, it's about moving on now. But there are some people in our community that are malicious and intentful with disrupting the administration, and they're going to get it guaranteed.
So, you know, a lot of it is ominous. So for very ominous. But
you know what? I just like, you know, in your first 4 years, you learn a lot, right? And in your second 4 years, you do a lot. So I think I've learned some good lessons, and I'm positive about the outlook of the Virgin Islands. But nobody's going to get in our way in moving this place forward. We're just not going to have it. So we're going to move to do the best thing for the most of the Virgin Islanders. We're going to stay away from personal interest, from emotion, and we're going to be bright about our future, because our future is bright. But we will not be deterred at all.
We will be right back after this quick break.
The U.S. Virgin Islands are in a region with high levels of vulnerability and threats for tsunamis. Here's some tips you should know. Listen for the sirens. It is important to understand the difference between an advisory, a watch, a warning, and an information statement.
If you're in a coastal zone area and notice a dramatic recession in water from the shoreline, move inland immediately and do not return until officials say it's safe to do so.
A tsunami can happen at any given moment, often without notice. Know your map and the nearest evacuation route, and stay in the know.
Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay vigilant. Visit Vitema's website at vitema.vi.gov for more preparedness tips.
The more we know, the more we grow.
And welcome back to the season finale of the Pressbox, Government House's Pressbox. It's an honor to host the final show tonight. I'm having a really good time with Governor Albert Bryan here. Hope you enjoyed it. I know they've had a lot of different, it's something very innovative, I thought, of the administration to have, you know, your executives come aboard and get questions from the community. And so it's an honor to host this tonight and speak to Governor Albert Bryan. Governor, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. What are your final remarks tonight on this last episode, at least for the season, for Pressbox?
Well, I really enjoy when you interview me. You know, I always tell my team when they ask me who you want me to interview, I always say Ernest, you know. And it's because you ask the tough questions and, you know, you're ready for the answers. And I think, you know, here in the second term of my administration, we definitely want to continue all of the things that we were doing that were good. and we want to start some new things, limited, and we want to take out the things that were bad. We have a lot of work to do and a bright future to build for the Virgin Islands. So I'm very optimistic about it.
You want to get it done, Governor?
And the other thing I do, I love about you is that you keep me honest. You're the only person that documents what I say and then tests me on it when I later. And I think we need to do that. We need to be continued, but we need to do it to everybody. So I expect to see more people being held accountable. I will push them their way right into the fire in this hot seat, let them answer some questions. But the election is over. The Virgin Islands is won again, and we're going to be moving forward, trying to do the best for all our people all the time. One love.
Good luck. Good luck for these next 4 years. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ernest Gilbert, founder of the VI Consortium. Have a good night.